Welcome to Starbound Valor HFY. Subscribe now and dive into daily epic sci-fi adventures, where humanity always rises. The Zereth Empire ruled the stars with cold pride and iron power, and for many years, no enemy had dared to challenge them. Their fleets were massive, their weapons were advanced, and their leaders believed nothing in the galaxy could ever threaten their rule. To them, fear was a weakness that existed only in the hearts of smaller races. The Zereth had defeated countless civilizations, crushed rebellions across star systems, and expanded their territory until their maps stretched farther than any other empire in known space. Their children grew up hearing stories about their glory, their soldiers marched with confidence, and their leaders believed they were unbreakable. But everything began to change the day a strange signal came from a forgotten blue planet at the edge of the galactic arm, a planet many in the Empire barely remembered. The planet was called Earth. At first, the signal seemed unimportant. The Empire scientists thought it was just an old satellite or a leftover technology from a primitive species. Humans had disappeared long ago. Some said they had died out. Others said they had left the galaxy completely. No one really cared. But then, something inside the signal changed. It wasn't random. It wasn't weak. It was strong, steady, and unnaturally precise, almost like a heartbeat of something waking up from a long sleep. Admiral Vorik, one of the Empire's most respected commanders, was the first to notice. He stood inside the Dark Command Tower on the capital world, watching the strange readings appear on the hologram. At first, he thought the screen was broken, but every time the signal pulsed, the energy levels spiked higher than the last. It was rising slowly but constantly, like a huge creature opening its eyes after centuries. Vorik ordered his science team to analyze it. When they came back, their faces were pale and uncertain. They explained that the signal had pattern structures that did not match any known technology. It felt old but powerful, something designed long before the Empire even existed. They also reported something stranger. The energy was not coming from the planet's surface. It was coming from deep space near Earth's orbit, like a giant machine or object was powering up. Vorik did not like mysteries. To him, anything unknown was a threat. He sent a small scout ship to investigate. The scout moved into Earth's system and began scanning the area carefully. For some time, everything was quiet. The pilot reported empty space, old debris, ruined satellites, and the remains of ancient human stations. But then, without warning, the scout ship's signal disappeared. No explosion, no distress call, no message, just silence. Vorik sent another scout. It also vanished. Then a third. Then a fourth. The only thing left of them were their last recorded moments, brief flashes of something huge, something metallic, something moving in the darkness. One survivor in the last ship managed to send a single broken transmission before disappearing. The message was short, filled with static and fear. "It sees us." That was the moment when the Empire felt something they had not felt in a long time, a small, quiet whisper of fear. But the leaders quickly forced that feeling down. They claimed the scouts probably crashed into debris or were lost in a spatial anomaly. The Empire could not accept that something near Earth had the power to destroy their ships without leaving a trace. Still, Vorik's instinct screamed danger. He ordered long-range scans, and the results shocked everyone. A shadow appeared on the scanner, large, heavy, and cold. It was not a planet, not an asteroid, not a natural object. It was something built, something powerful, something sleeping. Scientists estimated its size, larger than any known battleship, larger than even the Empire's dreadnoughts. It was massive enough to distort energy fields around it. The object remained still, but every scan showed its power rising, like a great beast stretching its limbs after centuries of silence. In the capital world, debates began. Some leaders argued it was just old human junk. Others feared it was a weapon left behind. One scientist whispered an idea that froze everyone in the room. What if humans did not die? What if they built something to protect their world? His voice shook as he spoke, but the Empire laughed. Humans were gone, weak, nothing to worry about, or so they believed. That night, Admiral Vorik stood alone in the observation deck, staring at the star map. Every few seconds, the strange object near Earth pulsed again. The lights on the hologram flickered as the power spike climbed higher and higher. It was waking up, and whatever it was big enough to make even a fearless empire feel uneasy. Vorik whispered to himself, "What have the humans left behind?" But he did not know that deep in the silent void above Earth, something ancient was opening its eyes, something designed with one purpose, to protect Earth at any cost, something the galaxy would soon learn to fear, something the Empire could not destroy. A shadow moved in the darkness, and the Leviathan began to rise. The Zereth Empire sent more ships toward Earth, but none of them returned. Every vessel that entered the silent system vanished as if the darkness swallowed them whole. At first, the Empire tried to hide the truth from its citizens. They claimed the missing scouts were victims of cosmic storms or human debris still floating in orbit. But inside the command halls, fear was growing like a storm. Admiral Vorik stood over the holographic map, watching the blinking red markers disappear one by one. Each blink meant another lost ship. Each loss felt like a whisper of warning from something they could not see. The strange energy readings near Earth were still increasing, stronger than ever. Vorik remembered the last words from the surviving pilot. "It sees us." And those words stayed in his mind like a shadow he could not escape. The Empire sent drones next, hoping machines would succeed where ships failed. The drones entered Earth's orbit slowly, scanning everything they could. They saw pieces of old human satellites, broken space stations, forgotten wrecks from ancient wars, but nothing unusual. For a moment, it seemed quiet, too quiet. Then, one by one, the drones went dark. No explosion, no hit, no malfunction. It was like something simply reached out and switched them off. One drone managed to send a final blurry image, an enormous metallic surface, curved like the side of a giant sleeping beast. The image lasted only a moment before the drone shut down. Scientists analyzed the picture for hours. They tried to zoom, enhance, and identify the metal structure, but the surface reflected no known signature. It was too smooth, too strong, too perfect. One scientist whispered, "This is not a station. This is a ship." The idea shook everyone in the room. A ship that size should be impossible. A ship that size should require a full fleet to operate. A ship that size should have been detected centuries ago. But this one was hidden, quiet, and now awakening. As the hours passed, the energy readings spiked again. The silent object above Earth pulsed like a heartbeat. With every pulse, the surrounding space seemed to tremble. Admiral Vorik ordered a new group, this time, a full combat patrol. 5 warships armed with advanced scanners, shielded hulls, and stealth tech. They moved carefully through the dark, watching for anything. As they drew closer to Earth, the screens flickered. Heat signatures rose. Gravitational waves shifted. Something was moving. The ship captains grew tense. The patrol leader reported seeing a massive silhouette, but the scanners refused to identify it. It was too large to measure, too dark to scan, too quiet to be alive. One captain whispered, "It is watching us." And then static filled the channel. In the command center, Vorik's eyes widened as 4 of the 5 ships vanished from the map instantly, gone like dust in a storm. Only one remained, drifting powerless. The crew sent a final message. "It is waking up. We should not be here." Then their ship went dark too. The silence that followed was heavy and cold. For the first time in many years, the Zereth Empire felt small. They had fought hundreds of enemies, crushed dozens of rebellions, and destroyed countless fleets. Yet nothing had ever erased their ships without leaving a trace. Nothing had ever caused such clean, silent death. Nothing had ever ignored their weapons so easily. Still, the Empire refused to show fear. The Supreme Council argued that the unknown object was simply an old human experiment malfunctioning after centuries. They insisted humans were gone, their civilization forgotten. Humans were weak, the Council stated. They could not build anything that threatens us. But Vorik felt differently. The unknown power near Earth did not feel weak. It did not feel old. It felt patient, awake, and watching. Something built by humans. Something left behind for a reason. Something designed not to break. That night, as Vorik stood before the stars, the strange object pulsed again. The energy readings reached levels far beyond anything ever recorded. The lights in the Empire's control rooms flickered as the pulse echoed through deep space, like a giant calling out. Scientists confirmed the truth nobody wanted to hear. The object was fully active now. No longer sleeping. No longer hiding. Its systems were powering up in perfect synchronization. The Empire had disturbed something ancient and powerful, something connected to the humans who vanished long ago. Vorik stared at the rising energy curve on the screen. It formed a shape, steady, rhythmic, precise, like a war drum. A warning. A promise. He whispered to himself. What have we awakened? But the answer was already moving in the dark. Slowly, quietly, the enormous shadow above Earth shifted its position for the first time in centuries. A giant machine, alive with purpose, turned toward the Empire's fleets. The Leviathan was awake. The Zereth Empire gathered a larger fleet near Earth, hoping to understand the mysterious power that had awakened in the shadows. They sent battleships, cruisers, and heavy scanners, all moving slowly through the dark space around the blue planet. Every captain felt a strange tension, like the air around them was heavy even though they were in space. Admiral Vorik watched everything from a command tower as dozens of ships formed a battle line. They expected an enemy, but they had no idea what they were about to face. At first, the Leviathan did not move. It simply floated there, huge and silent, hidden in the darkness. Its metal surface absorbed all light, making it almost invisible. The Empire's ships activated bright sensor beams to find its exact shape, and little by little, the massive structure came into view. The alien officers froze as they saw it clearly for the first time. It was not a station. It was never a station. It was a warship, colossal, ancient, and terrifying. No other ship in the galaxy was even half its size. The Leviathan's hull stretched across space like a floating mountain, covered in armor thicker than anything the Empire had ever created. Strange symbols, human symbols, glowed faintly on its side. The Empire's dreadnoughts, their strongest ships, looked like small shuttles next to it. The Empire captains could not believe their scanners. The readings were impossible. The Leviathan had enough firepower to destroy worlds, and it wasn't even fully active yet. As the Empire ships approached, the Leviathan finally responded. Its lights slowly turned on, bright white eyes coming to life along its front section. The ship seemed to look directly at the incoming fleet. One Zereth officer whispered, "It can see us," and the entire bridge fell silent. The Leviathan sent out a signal. It was not a voice, but a deep vibration that shook every ship. The message translated into simple text across their screens. "Leave Earth." The Empire captain stared at the message, stunned. A human ship, one built centuries ago, was telling the most powerful empire in the galaxy to go away, as if they were insects. Admiral Vorik ordered a response, trying to sound confident. "Identify yourself," he said, but the Leviathan did not reply. Instead, it turned its massive cannons toward the fleet. The Empire's ships prepared weapons. Engines roared. Shields rose. Officers shouted orders. They were powerful, proud, and ready for war. They believed they had fought everything the galaxy could offer. They believed nothing could defeat them. Then the Leviathan made its first move. A slow hum shook the air as its main cannon charged. The Empire expected a blast, but what they got was something far worse. The cannon did not fire a beam. It released a silent wave of energy that spread outward like a ripple in a pond. The closest Zereth ships froze. Their engines died. Their lights went dark. Then, one by one, they shattered into glowing dust, their hulls breaking apart without an explosion. It was clean, quiet, and terrifying. The Empire commanders panicked. Some tried to retreat. Some tried to fire. Some tried to call for help. Nothing worked. Their weapons could not lock onto the Leviathan. Their targeting systems failed. Their missiles flew off in random directions. Their lasers bounced harmlessly off the Leviathan's armor like tiny sparks. Vorik watched in horror as his proud fleet collapsed in minutes. The Leviathan moved again, rotating smoothly through the battlefield, its giant engines glowing with silent white fire. It did not chase. It did not rush. It simply drifted toward the remaining ships like a predator closing in on prey. Another message appeared on every screen. "This is your final warning. Leave Earth. But the Empire's pride was stronger than their fear. They still believed they could win. They were the rulers of the galaxy, after all. They ordered a full assault. Hundreds of weapons fired at once, lighting up space with bright energy. The Leviathan absorbed all of it. Not a single shot scratched its surface. Then it responded with one focused blast from a smaller cannon. A thin beam of white light shot across space, striking the center of the Empire's formation. The beam cut through hulls, shields, and armor like paper. The explosion that followed was so bright it turned night into day on Earth's surface. When the light faded, half the Empire's fleet was gone. Completely gone. Admiral Vorik stood frozen. His hands trembled. For the first time in his life, he felt true fear. The Leviathan had barely used a fraction of its power, and it had already destroyed the strongest fleet he had ever commanded. As the Leviathan slowly turned toward the remaining Empire ships, its engines glowing like the eyes of a rising beast, Vorik realized the terrible truth. The Empire had awakened something they should have left alone. Something created by humans for one purpose, to protect Earth from any enemy. Something unstoppable. Something merciless. The Leviathan. The remains of the Zereth fleet drifted silently in the darkness as the Leviathan continued to glow with calm, controlled power. The Empire had never seen such destruction, not even in their greatest wars. Half of their mighty armada had vanished in a single moment, erased by a ship that had not even tried its hardest. Admiral Vorik stood frozen inside the command tower, staring at the screens as the Leviathan slowly repositioned itself. It did not speak. It did not rush. It simply moved with the steady confidence of something that had no equal, something that feared nothing. The surviving Zereth ships scattered, trying to form new lines, but the captains were shaking with fear. Their voices trembled as they called out orders. Some begged for retreat. Others demanded reinforcements. One captain screamed that they should surrender. But surrender was something the Zereth Empire never allowed. Their laws were clear. They did not bow. They did not run. And they did not kneel before any race. They had built their entire history on the belief that they were unstoppable. Now, that belief was dying in front of their eyes. The Supreme Council watched the battle feed from the capital world. They were furious, confused, and terrified. They blamed Vorik. They blamed the fleet. They even blamed humans, even though no living human had been seen for centuries. But none of their anger changed the truth. The Leviathan was awake, and nothing in the galaxy could stand against it. The Empire gave a desperate command. Attack again, with everything they had. Vorik relayed the order, though he knew it was useless. Still, the ships obeyed. Weapons charged. Engines roared. Dozens of cruisers and battleships pushed forward in a last attempt to cripple the human warship. Their lasers shot out in bright lines of red and green. Their missiles scattered through the void, and their plasma cannons exploded with bright fire. The Leviathan finally reacted. Its armor glowed with soft white light as it activated shielding layers. Every weapon fired at it melted, disappeared, or rebounded into empty space. The Zereth crew watched with horror as their strongest weapons broke apart like dust hitting stone. Then the Leviathan fired back. It started with a single beam, thin, bright, and precise. The beam cut through 3 cruisers in a straight line, slicing them in half before they even knew they were hit. The explosions lit the battlefield like a sun. More beams followed, each one fired with deadly accuracy. The Leviathan did not waste energy. Every shot hit exactly where it needed to. One beam destroyed a warship's core. Another sliced off an engine. Another shattered an entire squadron of fighters. The Zereth fleet was falling apart faster than anyone believed possible. Vorik watched as the Leviathan's main cannon began to power up again. It was brighter than before, humming with deep energy that shook even the Empire's distant sensors. Scientists screamed as they read the power levels. "It's increasing. It's 10 times stronger than last time," they shouted. The Leviathan's cannon charged for a full minute. The Zereth ships tried to scatter, to hide, to escape, but the Leviathan tracked all of them with cold precision. When the cannon finally fired, the entire battlefield lit up in blinding white light. The wave of energy spread across space like a giant storm. Every ship caught in the path disintegrated instantly. Their metal hulls turned to ash. Their engines melted. Their shields shattered like glass. Within seconds, another third of the Empire's fleet was gone. Silence followed. Deep, painful silence. The Leviathan powered down again, its lights dimming softly, as if it had never fired at all. The Zereth Empire had never experienced such effortless destruction. Vorik felt his heart pounding as he stared at the screens. Smoke, debris, broken ships, all that remained of his proud fleet. The Leviathan sent another message. Simple words. Cold meaning. Final warning. Leave Earth. Do not return. The message echoed across every surviving Zereth ship, across their capital world, and across every listening outpost in the nearby systems. But the Zereth Empire was built on pride, not wisdom. Their council refused to accept defeat. They believed no ancient human relic could command them. They believed they still had a chance. So they issued a new order, summoned the Doom Armada, the strongest force in the Empire's history. But as Vorik stared at the Leviathan's massive shape floating calmly near Earth, he realized something the Council did not understand. This was no relic, no abandoned weapon, no outdated machine. This was a guardian built by humans who had prepared for this moment centuries ago. And if humans had built something this powerful before disappearing, what other secrets had they left behind? Vorik watched the Leviathan turn slightly, as if looking directly at him through the screen. His chest tightened with the icy weight of truth. The first strike had not been a battle. It had been a warning, and the real war was only beginning. The destruction of the Zereth fleet spread across the Empire like a shockwave, shaking the confidence of every soldier, politician, and citizen. News channels tried to hide the truth, but the silence from the front line told everyone that something terrible had happened near the forgotten planet called Earth. The Supreme Council met in a sealed chamber, their voices filled with anger and fear. They refused to accept that an ancient human warship had defeated their strongest fleet. They called it impossible, a lie, a failure of their commanders. But deep inside, every council member knew the truth. They had awakened something they could not control. After hours of shouting and arguments, they chose their only option: send the Doom Armada, the pride of the Zereth Empire, a force so strong that entire civilizations had fallen before it. The Doom Armada was legendary. It was not just a fleet. It was a declaration of dominance. Hundreds of battleships, thousands of fighters, and the Empire's most powerful super-dreadnoughts moved out from their bases. Their engines lit up the skies of Zereth space, like a burning sunrise. Citizens cheered from planets and stations as the enormous fleet passed, believing victory was guaranteed. But far away, Admiral Vorik watched the Leviathan's silent shape near Earth and knew the truth. Power meant nothing against that ship. The Leviathan floated calmly, its armor glowing with soft white light, as if waiting for the next challenge. It did not chase. It did not threaten. It simply waited, like a guardian confident in its strength. Hours later, the Doom Armada arrived, darkening the space around Earth with thousands of ships. The Empire's generals felt pride seeing such a massive force gathered. They believed no enemy could stand against this power. They believed the Leviathan was just one ship, dangerous, yes, but alone. They did not understand that a single human warship was more dangerous than an entire empire. The Zereth captains activated weapons and aimed everything at the Leviathan. Their scanners locked onto it. But even then, the readings made no sense. The Leviathan was not just active, it was adapting, learning, growing. Its power levels were higher than before. Its shields were stronger. Its weapons were more efficient. Every second, the ship seemed to evolve, as if preparing for the next stage of battle. The Zereth generals sent a message demanding the Leviathan identify itself and surrender. The Leviathan did not respond. Instead, its engines glowed brighter, its armor lit up, and the giant warship turned slowly toward the Doom Armada. A deep vibration spread across space, shaking every ship in the Armada. Officers clutched their consoles, feeling the pressure of something far beyond their understanding. Then, the Leviathan finally sent a message. A single sentence appeared on every screen in the Doom Armada: "You should not have come." The Zereth generals laughed at the message. They saw it as weakness, fear, or a human attempt to bluff. They prepared all ships to fire. Thousands of weapons glowed with deadly energy. Missiles armed themselves. Plasma cannons locked in. The entire Doom Armada waited for the countdown. 3, 2, 1. And then the Empire fired everything at once. A massive wave of energy shot toward the Leviathan, lighting up space with bright colors and powerful shockwaves. The attack shook the void like thunder. It was the strongest strike the Empire had ever made. When the light faded, the Zereth commanders waited to see the Leviathan in ruins. But instead, they saw something that froze their blood. The Leviathan was untouched. Not a single scratch. Its armor glowed brighter than before, absorbing the attack like it was nothing more than rain falling on a mountain. Inside the Doom Armada, panic broke instantly. Some captains screamed to retreat. Others ordered another attack. A few stood in stunned silence, unable to understand what they were witnessing. Admiral Vorik whispered to himself, "They cannot win. We cannot win." The Leviathan began charging its weapons. This time, the energy was different, faster, sharper, more focused. The Zereth ships detected the rising power, and their alarms screamed warnings across every deck. The Leviathan's front cannon opened, revealing a swirling white core. The entire Doom Armada felt the vibration as it reached full power. Then, with deadly simplicity, the Leviathan fired a single shot. A thin beam of pure white light tore across space and sliced through the center of the Doom Armada. Dozens of super dreadnoughts broke apart instantly. Entire wings of fighters vanished. Battleships melted into glowing fragments. The beam carved a massive path straight through the heart of the Empire's greatest force. Silence followed, broken only by the alarms on the few surviving ships. The Doom Armada, the pride of the Empire, had been split in half like paper. Vorik stared at the destruction with hollow eyes. The Council had ordered him to win, but how could anyone win against something built by humans for a purpose greater than war? The Leviathan slowly turned, ready to fire again, and the Zereth Empire finally understood. They had not come to defeat a ship. They had come to face their end. The High Council of the Dominion Empire gathered inside their grand chamber, a place built from rare crystal stone that shimmered with soft blue light. It was a room that always made their leaders feel powerful and safe, but today it felt cold and heavy. Every seat was filled, yet no one spoke at first. They simply stared at the giant screen floating above the center of the room, replaying the same terrible image over and over. The human Leviathan destroying one of their strongest dreadnoughts with a single strike. The silence was painful. The counselors, known for their pride and confidence, were now filled with fear, confusion, and disbelief. They had faced many enemies before and defeated all of them. But this was different. The Leviathan did not behave like any warship they knew. It moved too fast, hit too hard, and seemed to know exactly where to strike. Some counselors wondered if it had a mind of its own, something alive and aware. Others believed it was controlled by humans, but those humans must be far more advanced than the Dominion ever imagined. Finally, the Chancellor spoke. His voice was usually loud and commanding, but today it trembled slightly. "We underestimated them," he said. "Humanity is not weak. They are not broken. They are not hiding. They have been preparing." The chamber reacted instantly. Some shouted in anger, demanding explanations. Others argued that humans were still only one species, while the Dominion controlled 1/3 of the known galaxy. A few counselors insisted that the Leviathan must be some rare prototype, something humans could not build twice. But a quiet, older counselor finally stood up and asked a question that silenced everyone. "If this is only one of their ships," he said softly, "then what else have they built?" The question struck the room like a weapon. No one had an answer. The Dominion had always believed humans were trapped in their small region of space, struggling with old technology. But the Leviathan proved that everything the Dominion thought it knew was wrong. Reports began to arrive from outlying sectors. Ships on patrol had spotted strange energy signatures near human space. Some had disappeared without sending distress signals. Others saw shadows of something moving in the dark, large shapes that vanished the moment sensors tried to track them. The Dominion's top scientists analyzed the wreckage of the destroyed dreadnought. What they discovered shocked everyone. The metal was sliced cleanly, almost like it had been cut by pure force or exotic energy. No known weapon in the Dominion arsenal could do that. Not even their strongest plasma lances or graviton beams. "This is impossible," the chief scientist said. "No empire in the galaxy has such power." But the evidence was right there. Humans had it, and they might not be alone. The Council ordered a full review of everything the Dominion knew about Earth. For centuries, humans had fought among themselves, struggling with internal wars and chaos. Their world should have been easy to conquer. So, how did they build something like the Leviathan? The investigation revealed strange patterns. Human communication traffic had been unusually quiet for years. Their colonies had gone dark, but not because of war or collapse, more like they were hiding something. Some counselors believed humans had discovered a lost ancient technology from the first races. Others suspected they had reached a new level of science that the Dominion failed to predict. But the truth was still unknown. A sudden alarm echoed across the chamber. Every counselor looked up as the screens flashed red. A Dominion listening post near the border had detected something approaching. Not one ship, not two, but an entire fleet. And the signature was unmistakable, human. The chamber exploded into panic. It cannot be a full fleet. They should not have so many ships. Are we under attack? The Chancellor struggled to restore order. Calm yourselves. We must see what they want. But deep down, he was terrified. The Leviathan alone had destroyed an elite Dominion battle group. If humans had more ships like it, this could be the end of the Empire. The feed from the listening post finally stabilized, showing a dark stretch of space. Then, one by one, massive shapes emerged from the shadows. Sleek black hulls, glowing blue cores, sharp edges like blades, and leading them, the Leviathan itself. The Council stared in horror as the human fleet formed a perfect formation, like a predator slowly circling its prey. A message was transmitted. Only 2 words. "We're here." The chamber froze again, and every leader of the Dominion felt the same cold truth settle in their hearts. Humanity was not coming to talk. Humanity was coming to end something. And the Empire finally understood. They were no longer the hunters. They were the hunted. The human fleet remained silently in formation outside Dominion space, their black hulls glowing with cold blue light, like giant shadows, waiting in the dark. Inside the High Council chamber, fear spread like a storm. Every leader stared at the message on the screen, the 2 words that shook the entire Empire. "We're here." No threats, no demands, just a message that felt heavier than 1,000 warnings. The Chancellor ordered immediate contact. "Open a channel," he commanded, trying to sound calm even as his hand shook. The connection flickered for a moment, then stabilized. And for the first time in recorded history, the High Council saw the face of the human commander. He stood tall, his figure sharp and confident, wearing dark armor marked with a symbol none of the Dominion had seen before. His eyes were cold but calm, like someone who had already accepted victory. When he spoke, his voice was steady and controlled. "Dominion Empire," he said, "your time of ruling the stars is over. You pushed your power too far. You destroyed worlds. You crushed weaker species. And now you will answer for what you have done." The chamber erupted in anger. Several counselors screamed at the human, calling him arrogant, weak, a fool who did not understand the power of the Empire. But he simply watched them, his expression unchanged. "Your dreadnoughts attacked our borders," the human commander continued. "Your fleets fired on our colonies. You left us with no choice but to respond." The Chancellor tried to stand tall, but fear was clear in his eyes. "Human," he said, "you cannot win against the Dominion. Your small world cannot fight an empire. That ship of yours is powerful, yes, but it will not save you." The human finally smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who already knew the future. "You still think the Leviathan is our only ship," he said. "You have no idea how wrong you are." The chamber fell silent. The counselors exchanged nervous looks, realizing the human was not bluffing. As if on cue, sensors detected new signatures behind the Leviathan. More ships began emerging from the shadows. They were not as large as the Leviathan, but they carried the same terrifying energy cores and sharp, deadly design. A whole hidden fleet. The Dominion gasped in horror. The human commander continued. For years, you believed we were weak. You believed we were behind you. You believed we were trapped on our planet. But while you were fighting each other for power, humanity was preparing. We built ships. We built weapons. We built alliances. We watched you conquer and enslave, and we waited. One counselor shouted. Waited for what? The human's eyes darkened. For the day we would stop you. The chancellor raised his voice. What do you want from us? Do you wish to destroy the Dominion? The human nodded slightly. That depends on you. You have a choice. Surrender your war fleets. Release the species you have enslaved. End your expansion. Or face the Leviathan. The counselors panicked. Some demanded immediate surrender. Others refused. Old rivalries inside the empire began to show. The room became filled with shouting, threats, and disbelief. But no one noticed that the human commander simply turned and gave a small hand signal. The Leviathan responded instantly. The massive warship moved forward, its core glowing brighter. The Dominion fleet that guarded the border began powering weapons in fear. The human commander spoke again, this time with finality in his voice. If you fire first, there will be no survivors. The Dominion fleet hesitated. Their captains were terrified. They had seen what the Leviathan did to a dreadnought. They did not want to be next. Suddenly, an inexperienced Dominion officer panicked. He believed humans were about to attack. He fired a single plasma bolt, a mistake that doomed thousands. The plasma bolt struck the shields of the Leviathan and vanished instantly. The human commander closed his eyes for a moment, as if disappointed. You have chosen, he said quietly. Leviathan, engage. The Leviathan moved with a speed no one believed possible. It vanished into a blur, then reappeared in the center of the Dominion formation. Its weapons ignited in blinding blue arcs, slicing through cruisers and destroyers like paper. Ships exploded one after another, their wreckage scattering across space. The Dominion fleet tried to fight back, but nothing worked. Their strongest weapons barely touched the Leviathan shields. Their formations collapsed. Their commanders screamed. The council watched in horror as their mighty defense fleet was erased in minutes. Stop, the chancellor shouted. We surrender. We surrender. But the human commander shook his head. This is only the beginning. The Dominion needs to understand something. His voice grew colder. Power does not belong to tyrants. The Leviathan finished the last cruiser, then slowly turned toward the Dominion homeworld. And in that moment, every leader understood the truth. The Empire was facing something far greater than the warship. It was facing judgment. The Dominion homeworld had never known fear. For thousands of years, it stood as the heart of the Empire, a shining planet covered in silver towers, floating citadels, and massive star fortresses that circled it like a protective shield. Every visitor who arrived at the capital felt the same thing. This was a world that could never be touched, never be defeated, never be threatened. But now, as the Leviathan slowly approached, the entire planet felt something it had never felt before. Hopelessness. Billions of citizens stared at the sky, watching the dark shape grow larger and larger, its blue core glowing like the eye of a monster coming from the void. The Dominion military scrambled every remaining ship to defend the world. Fighters, bombers, heavy cruisers, and their last two dreadnoughts launched into the sky, forming a thick wall of metal. The commanders shouted orders, their voices shaking. This is our homeworld. Hold the line. Do not let it pass. But deep inside, they all knew the truth. If the Leviathan wanted to break through, nothing could stop it. In the High Council chamber, chaos erupted once again. Counselors shouted over each other, demanding emergency plans that did not exist. Some urged evacuation, but there were no ships left. Others wanted to negotiate, but no one knew what humans would accept. The Chancellor stood frozen, staring at the hologram of the approaching human fleet. How did we come to this? He whispered. How did an empire fall in a single day? Outside the planet's atmosphere, the Leviathan stopped. It hovered silently, its blue lights pulsing like a heartbeat. Then, without warning, it activated a projection beam. A massive hologram of the human commander appeared above the Dominion capital city, visible to the entire world. His voice echoed across the sky. "Dominion Empire," he said, calm but cold. "You believed you owned the stars. You believed you could take what you wanted. You believed you could crush anyone who stood in your way." Billions of people watched, terrified, as his expression hardened. But you forgot something. Every empire, no matter how strong, has a day of reckoning. The message spread to every screen, every station, every military channel. The human commander raised his hand, showing an image of Dominion fleets burning across different sectors. "You attacked our borders. You destroyed our colonies. You chased our people across the void. And today, you will face the cost of your choices." The Dominion dreadnoughts opened fire first, desperate to stop the Leviathan before it reached orbit. Beams of plasma, missiles, and gravitational cannons flew through space. But once again, the Leviathan behaved like something from another universe. Its shields absorbed the attacks like water drops hitting stone. Then, with one smooth motion, it unleashed its counterattack. A single blue beam flashed from its core, silent and bright. The nearest dreadnought did not explode. It simply vanished, erased, as if it had never existed. Shock waves of fear tore through the Dominion military. Fighters scattered. Commanders froze. People watching on the planet screamed. The Leviathan moved forward, slow and unstoppable. It sliced through the Dominion's last line of defense like a giant blade cutting through clouds. One cruiser tried to ram the Leviathan in a final act of bravery, but the human warship shifted aside effortlessly, then struck it with a burst of energy so precise that the cruiser was split cleanly into two pieces. Inside the council chamber, alarms blared. "Impact in 5 minutes," someone shouted. The Chancellor finally broke. He slammed his hands on the table. "We must surrender. Now, before they destroy everything." But the surrender signal was never sent, because at that moment, the Leviathan released something they had never seen before, a wave of shimmering blue energy that washed across the entire orbit. It did not explode. It did not kill. Instead, every Dominion weapon, ship, and defense system shut down. Power died. Engines failed. Shields collapsed. The Empire's mightiest world was now blind and helpless. Panic spread instantly. Citizens ran through the streets. Military officers begged their systems to restart. The Chancellor screamed at his technicians. "What did they do to us?" The human commander appeared one last time, his face calm and unreadable. "This is not destruction," he said. "This is disarmament. We have taken away your ability to hurt others." His voice grew colder. "But do not mistake this for mercy." The Leviathan pointed its weapons at the planet, but did not fire. Instead, dozens of human ships broke formation and descended toward the capital. Dropships, invasion craft, soldiers. The Dominion Empire finally understood. The humans were not here just to fight. They were here to take control. The sky above the home world turned dark as human forces landed, and for the first time in thousands of years, the Dominion realized they were no longer rulers of the stars. They were about to become the defeated. The Dominion Empire's capital burned in silence as the human forces landed on the planet, moving with precision and speed no one could match. Soldiers and citizens alike ran in panic, trying to escape the streets, while human dropships descended from the sky like dark shadows. The Leviathan floated above orbit, a massive guardian watching every movement, its core glowing softly as it scanned for threats. Every remaining Dominion warship in space trembled under the pressure of its presence. It did not fire. It did not chase. It simply watched, waiting for the perfect moment. Inside the ruined command tower, Admiral Vorik ran through the corridors, giving orders to remaining officers, but most of them had already fled or been destroyed. Screens showed human soldiers moving through the city with calm efficiency. They had no fear, no hesitation, no mercy. Vorik's voice trembled as he spoke into the last communication, channels still functional. "All units, regroup at the Central Defense Hub. Hold the line. Do not let them take the heart of the city." But it was already too late. The human forces moved faster than anything the Dominion could anticipate. Heavy cruisers and stealth ships moved along the city's perimeter, blocking all escape routes. Drop teams secured the central power cores, cutting off energy to defensive weapons and leaving entire districts in darkness. Every attempt by the Dominion to resist was countered immediately. Ships that tried to return fire were destroyed instantly, crushed by the Leviathan's silent but unstoppable presence in orbit. Vorik watched helplessly as his strongest soldiers fell one by one. The streets were filled with panic, explosions, and the cold hum of human energy weapons. The Council's remaining members were captured quickly. They had no choice but to surrender as human forces surrounded their chambers, their black armor glinting in the dim light. The Chancellor begged for mercy, but the human commander's voice was calm and firm. Your empire destroyed countless worlds. Your fleets murdered innocents across the galaxy. You leave us no choice. This ends today. Vorik felt a wave of hopelessness wash over him. He had commanded fleets that crushed entire civilizations. He had believed himself unbeatable. But the Leviathan had destroyed everything he knew, and the humans had completed what the ship started. Vorik tried to retreat, to escape to the outer sectors, but the Leviathan blocked every possible exit. It did not need to chase. Its mere presence in orbit, its massive size, and its energy projection made every attempt at escape impossible. Slowly, the Leviathan unleashed a controlled pulse, a wave of energy that disabled every remaining defensive system on the planet. No one could move, fire, or communicate without permission. The human commander appeared on the main screen again, this time addressing the entire Dominion population. You believed your strength made you untouchable. You believed your fleets could control the stars. You believed your power would last forever. But all empires fall, and yours has arrived at its end. No one survives tyranny forever. Vorik's stomach sank as he realized the truth. The humans were not here to negotiate, not here to destroy aimlessly, but here to reclaim justice. And the Leviathan, the guardian that had waited in silence for centuries, was their instrument. Slowly, the human forces began securing the planet's key facilities. Energy plants, communication centers, military bases. Every strategic point fell without a single human casualty. It was as if they had been trained for this moment across generations. Vorik tried to rally the last remaining Dominion fighters, but they were scattered, confused, and terrified. Some attempted to resist, but fell immediately to precise human strikes. The streets were filled with smoke, fire, and the heavy hum of Leviathan energy waves, reminding every survivor that resistance was futile. From orbit, the Leviathan shifted slightly, activating small energy beams that struck remaining fleets still hovering near the planet. One by one, every Dominion warship surrendered or disintegrated. There was no chaos, no panic in the Leviathan's actions, only cold efficiency. Finally, the human commander transmitted a last message. The Dominion Empire will no longer harm the innocent. Its fleets will serve no longer as instruments of oppression. Earth will remain safe, and this galaxy will remember that humans are not to be underestimated. This is the end of your empire. Vorik fell to his knees, staring at the Leviathan's glowing core, understanding that nothing he had done, no battle he had commanded, and no fleet he had led could match the power and purpose of this human creation. The Leviathan began to retreat slowly, returning to its orbit around Earth, leaving behind a conquered Dominion homeworld. The human forces secured control, and the planet's remaining systems fell silent. Across the galaxy, news spread of the Dominion's fall. Entire populations that had feared the Empire for centuries now whispered the name humans with awe and terror. Vorik finally realized that humanity's greatest weapon was not just the Leviathan. It was the patience, intelligence, and planning that had created it. The Leviathan had been waiting, silent and unyielding, to strike at the perfect moment, and now, the galaxy would never forget the day the humans returned to reclaim what was theirs. The Dominion Empire, once feared across countless star systems, was shattered forever, and the galaxy had witnessed the unstoppable power of humanity. The galaxy fell silent after the Dominion Empire's defeat. Worlds that had trembled under their rule for centuries slowly began to breathe again, free from fear and oppression. The Leviathan returned to orbit above Earth, massive and still, its glowing core pulsing like a heartbeat that connected to the planet itself. Humanity had waited, planned, and built what was needed to reclaim their place among the stars, and now their patience had paid off. Across space, surviving fleets of the Dominion tried to regroup, but none dared challenge the humans. Word of the Leviathan's power spread faster than any fleet could move, and fear settled in the hearts of former conquerors. In Earth's command center, the human commanders coordinated operations across multiple systems, ensuring that every corner of the galaxy knew that humanity had returned, and they were not to be underestimated. Admiral Vorik, once a proud officer of the Dominion, watched from a captured ship, his pride and arrogance replaced by awe and fear. He had led fleets that had destroyed civilizations, yet he had seen the Leviathan erase his strongest dreadnoughts in moments. He understood the truth that every Dominion officer now understood. Humans were patient, intelligent, and unstoppable when provoked. Cities across the galaxy began reporting strange signals. Human fleets appearing in systems that had been under Dominion control, enforcing peace, liberating enslaved species, and securing former colonies. Humanity did not destroy for pleasure. They did not hunt for vengeance. They acted with precision, patience, and purpose. Their message clear: tyranny would not be tolerated. The Supreme Council of the Dominion was completely dismantled. Captured leaders were brought to Earth, not executed, but contained and studied. Humans had no need for cruelty. They had simply ended the Dominion's ability to oppress. Across the galaxy, liberated civilizations celebrated cautiously, unsure whether humanity would stop at mercy or continue to dominate. But the humans acted differently. They rebuilt. They stabilized. They shared technology and knowledge, teaching former victims how to defend themselves and how to govern independently. Humanity had learned from their history, and they did not repeat the mistakes of those who sought to conquer through fear. The Leviathan remained in orbit, a silent sentinel above Earth, ready to act whenever needed. Its presence alone ensured that no empire would rise against humans again without considering the consequences. Back on Earth, the human commanders gathered for the first time in centuries, standing in the main command room, watching reports from across liberated systems. The galaxy was quiet, but it was a quiet filled with hope and freedom, not fear. "We did not return to conquer," one commander said. "We returned to protect, to remind the galaxy what humanity can do when pushed to the edge." Another nodded. "The Leviathan is proof of our strength, but our patience is our greatest weapon. The Dominion thought they could dominate us, but we were ready." Vorik, now a prisoner under careful watch, listened silently. He had been a commander of one of the galaxy's greatest empires, and yet he had failed completely. He had underestimated humans, and the cost had been total. He realized something that many others now realized across the galaxy. Humans were not just strong. Humans were clever, adaptable, and relentless when necessary. Their return was not violent for the sake of violence, but terrifying in its certainty, discipline, and purpose. Across former Dominion systems, rumors spread of other human creations, ships like the Leviathan, dormant weapons waiting for the right moment. The galaxy began to whisper with awe and fear. Humanity had returned not as a single warship, but as a force that could never again be ignored. Citizens on freed worlds looked toward the stars, finally feeling safe for the first time in generations. Children were born without the shadow of the Dominion hanging over them. Entire species began rebuilding cultures that had been crushed under imperial rule. Humanity's return reshaped politics, alliances, and the balance of power. In orbit above Earth, the Leviathan pulsed once more, signaling to all who could see or sense it. Humanity watches, humanity protects, and humanity endures. Admiral Vorik bowed his head, understanding that the galaxy had changed forever. The humans were no longer a hidden species. They had returned, patient, unstoppable, and above all united. And somewhere in the void beyond known space, more ancient human creation stirred, waiting to awaken when needed. The Leviathan, massive, ancient, and unstoppable, drifted silently above Earth, a guardian that reminded the galaxy of one undeniable truth. Humanity had returned. The stars belonged to no one, and anyone who threatened peace would face a force they could not imagine. The galaxy, for the first time in centuries, knew balance. Fear had ended. Humanity had returned,